is Jolene Stevens, and I am the founder of Practically Magic, an application that helps travel agents create beautiful, professional theme park itineraries. Today, we are going to talk about Disney's Animal Kingdom Lightning Lane strategy. The folks over at thrillData.com have been really generous with their data, and they've shared it with us. And we are going to take a little bit of a review of what the first 2 weeks of March of 2024 looked like in the parks and what that tells us about what we can put together for our strategy for getting through the parks. So why is this important? It's because setting expectation is fundamental to travel agents' success and their clients, right? If we can help our clients understand what to expect when they go into the park, how to make the most of their time, they're going to have a great vacation, and that reflects wonderfully on you. So when we talk about Practically Magic, when I was creating this, one of the things that I really wanted was a piece of software that had all of the content from Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Orlando already in it. So what I've done is I've taken every attraction and activity and resort and restaurant, and I have already loaded them into Practically Magic. So when you become a Practically Magic user, all of these entries are already in there for you. And it's super easy. Like if you were going to Islands of Adventure, you could just type in Harry and you would have all of the attractions from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So when you are creating these itineraries for your clients, it's as easy as just dragging and dropping which order you would recommend. Now, if you don't do detailed itineraries, this still is a great tool because you can create a guide that is going to give them all the important information that they need to know outside of kind of a ride by ride. So even if you're just giving your clients, this is how you make your first lightning lane, and these are your restaurant reservations, this is still a helpful tool to you. Once you have created an itinerary, you can send your client either a PDF or you can send them a link that is formatted. It will work on their computer and will be formatted similar to the PDF. Or if they send it to their mobile phone, they will have a mobile formatted link that really displays the information really beautifully. So when we're looking at this data, one of the things that we need to know is that the park hours were from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, these are like the first 2 weeks of March in 2024. So when we look at the average wait time here, some of this changes, but some things stay the same. So Avatar Flights of Passage, doesn't matter what season you're in, typically is going to be the longest wait time in the park. Then right after that is typically Navi River Journey. This is not a surprise to most of you travel agents out there. But when we talk about the next three, so Kilimanjaro Safari, Expedition Everest, and the meet and greet where you typically see Mickey, those tend to kind of move around a little bit. So I always consider those as kind of the same. One thing that I will also note though is Kali River Rapid here, you'll see that the average wait time is pretty low. That definitely changes with the season. So when it is hot, like in the summer, you're going to see Cali up there next to Expedition Everest. And it's important to know that your itineraries or your recommendations will change with the season. So we're just going to be talking about spring break kind of time right now. This would also be applicable to January, February, March, April, maybe the beginning of May. Also, May gets a little hotter, so maybe not so much May. Okay, so when we talk about the averages, this is about return times. And it's important to note that this is not the standby, but this is when you look at these graphs, the distribution time, that's kind of like the current time, that is going to be on that horizontal axis. And then on that vertical axis, you're going to have the return time. So 7 a.m. is when people are making their first lightning lane. And the return time for things are going to typically be before 9 or 9:30. That's what this is telling us. Now, when we look at this, this is Avatar Flights of Passage. That's different because that's an individual lightning lane and people are allowed to choose their own time. We'll look at this data in greater depth in the coming slides, but I wanted to just bring your attention to, if we take Avatar Flights of Passage out and we just look at Navi River Journey, and then after that is the meet and greet. And then after that, we kind of have Kilimanjaro Safari, Expedition Everest in there, and then Dinosaur. And I think that this is really important because you can start to see maybe what you should be prioritizing as far as some of the lightning lanes. But my recommendation may surprise you, but let's keep going. Your individual lightning lane, again, is Flights of Passage. When we talk about this graph is going to be different than all the other graphs that we are going to see because, again, people get to pick the time that they want to ride Avatar Flights of Passage, as long as that time is still available, right? This isn't as interesting as this is. So this is the average for Avatar Flights of Passage. I think what is going on here, and if somebody actually knows, please, please message me. But I think what's happening is Disney is releasing times and people are just choosing the next time or the earliest time available. And so you see this kind of going up, and then I think that they drop another load of times around 10 o'clock. So like 2 hours afterwards, and it just kind of goes up, and over, and same with one. So this to me looks like they drop different amounts of them throughout the day. What I would say on that is if you have a client who's there, maybe they're not staying on property, so do not have early entry. This is an individual lightning lane that they should be able to get. I mean, all of the data is showing us that, even this data is showing us that those individual lightning lanes are still available way into the afternoon. This also tells us that if somebody did not want to purchase this individual lightning lane right at 7, that would be okay. There would still be times available. But if it ends up not available, if there was like a blip in the system here or here where it wasn't available, that have them refresh and they should be able to see more availability throughout the day. So that's interesting to know. Now, when I say that's different, right, Navi River Journey is a Disney Genie Plus lightning lane. And what that means is that Disney is going to assign a time. Now, when looking at this, it's really interesting because it is a little bit all over the place, but it is still very linear. And I know that there are lots of travel agents out there who are hesitant to do any sort of itinerary or recommendation when it comes to lightning lanes because you're like, I don't know when they're going to get called back. But this shows you there is a trend. So if they are choosing Navi River Journey as their first lightning lanes, odds are is they are going to be have a return time that's before 10 a.m. You'll notice there's no dot there, but if you go straight down, there's a dot there. So somewhere between 8 and about 9, you're probably going to have a return time for that Navi River Journey. And when we keep going out, you can see almost like a tiny little blip here. I will tell you that the 11th on all of my plots is a little bit, the lines are a little bit steeper, which means that I think there's more people in the park on those days, and those lightning lanes get gobbled up a little bit faster. But when we talk about this, let's say you do have a return time for something else. Maybe you did Dinosaur first. You wouldn't do that because of the layout of the park, but let's just say, and you did that at 8:30 or 9 after the park had opened, and then this was your second lightning lane, you're still, on average, you're still going to be getting that before noon. Now, worst case scenario, it's looking at 1 o'clock. So while that is still a good spread, but your understanding of, okay, sometime between 9:30 and 1, my client will get called back for that. So you have to think about what are the things that you can pad the itinerary with to help them get from 9:30 to 1 if needed, and what are the things that are around there. I'll talk more about that, but like if we were going from Dinosaur over to Navi River Journey, again, I would never recommend this, but let's just say that that was the plan. You have the Tree of Life, you have all of the animals that are between kind of the Dino Land and over in Avatar. Uh, um, and when you talk, or Pandora, I'm sorry, you have the fish. I think there are there otters? In my mind, there's an otter over there. Anyways, there's those animals that they could go and see in addition to things like the Tree of Life, go get a cup of coffee if they needed to, but also go experience Pandora before you need to go over to Navi River Journey. We'll talk about a better plan, but padding before and after your lightning lanes is super smart, and I'll show you how to do that. So this gives you the average of what that was showing. Again, if you're doing Navi River Journey as your first lightning lane, you're going to get called back for that very, very early. Even at 8 a.m., you know, you're before about 10:30. This is still a good lightning lane late into the day. So when we talk about Navi River Journey and flights of passage, what I'm going to tell you is I would rope drop those if I had clients staying on property. Typically, rope drop for flights of passage is going to be right around 30 minutes of wait time. And Navi River Journey, even if it does take them about a half an hour to get through it, Navi River Journey is still about a 15 to 20-minute wait at that time. And both of those are very reasonable. And then they still have the ability to either purchase an individual, if they loved flights of passage, they can purchase that individual lightning lane for later in the day. And they still have the ability, if they wanted to use a lightning lane later, you know, at, you know, 2 or 3 and get a lightning lane for Navi River Journey at closer to park close, they could do that by uh, rope dropping both of those. So I'm going to show you how I would do that in this. So when we talk about how I set up my itinerary, I'm going to make your first lightning lane. Oops. Let's see here. In Animal Kingdom. Here we go. I'm going to pull that in, and those are my instructions. Now, you'll see I have select individual lightning lane for flights of passage. I have since changed that to go on flights of passage, and if after you've ridden it, if you want to ride it again, go in and purchase the individual lightning lane. But you will see that my first lightning lane is Safari, and we'll take a look at that too. The other thing I want to do is early entry, because I want to add that to this itinerary also, because I want them to know what time they can get in to Animal Kingdom that morning. And on this morning, it was at 7:30. So I'm just going to go put the date and put 7:30 a.m. and save that. Now, I also have park hours, and I have this saved. Now, what you'll notice is I have this saved as, it's going to be a note. Actually, in this one, maybe I don't have it as a note. You can see I have a lot of different park hours, right? Because there are different park hours for every different park in every different season. So this is actually incorrect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new note. And what I do in here is I will put Disney's Animal Kingdom park hours, and then put from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The other thing that I do put in these that I'm not going to take the time now to do, but I will also add the link to Disney's park hours and say, for the most up-to-date hours, check here. And I will add that link there. We all know that Disney changes their park hours, and sometimes it's the night before. I like having the resources for my client to feel like they're empowered to go out and find the information, or they have it at their fingertips to double check. Obviously, they can also, you could direct them to the app too for that. But with this, I'm going to pull this down. You also could put, if you have clients who would appreciate it, you could put bus to, and I'll put park here, but maybe you want to put Disney's Animal Kingdom. In the notes, you could also put what time you would recommend getting to the bus stop. And that's obviously very, very helpful. So I'd put that in there. And actually, the Make Your First Lightning Lane, I want that to be at, I think most of you said that you make it at a 6:45 wake up call for them. So you have that. What I would also do is, right, flight. I always say flights. It's flight. And then I would pull in Navi right after that. And then what I would do is, knowing that they are going to do, after that, the safari, I am going to go and pull that down too. But with the safari, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in that it is a lightning lane. So it's identified as a lightning lane, and you will see how that shows up on the itinerary when we are done. Okay, so let's go back to our data. So again, this is a meet and greet. What I will tell you is when I don't have to plan meet and greets into my clients' itineraries, I do that because I don't want to plan meet and greets. I like getting them into character meals if I can. So I love Tusker House. I love Tusker House around at 10 o'clock, 10:30. And the reason why I like it around that time is because, one, they're in that area of the park, right? I've just had them rope drop Navi River Journey and Flight of Passage, and I want them to go back and do the safari, and maybe they can even do Festival of the Lion King at 10 o'clock. And then after that, they could go to Tusker House. It still gives them a little bit of time if they have a little bit of flexibility. You have Gorilla Falls, all of that sort of stuff back there too, to go check out and enjoy with the animals. Now, I'm going to go through all three of those, the next ones, to talk about what makes sense. But if they are not going to go do Tusker House, and if this meet and greet is important to your client, what I want to show here is I want to look. This starts at 7 a.m. and goes to just about 5 p.m. And this one goes from 7 a.m. just about to 5 p.m. But look at the difference in the slope, right? What this is telling you is that the lightning lanes for this meet and greet go faster, or maybe there's less. And so the return time increases much faster than what you have for Navi River Journey, which I think is very interesting and something to think about. So I would still do Kilimanjaro Safari first. And let's say you have a return time for Kilimanjaro Safari. Well, let's go look at Kilimanjaro Safari real quick. So when we look at this, right, you have a lot of people doing Kilimanjaro Safari as a first lightning lane, but then actually it becomes really, really consistent, and there's not much variation as you get later in your day. But when we look at the average, your average Kilimanjaro Safari at 7 o'clock is right at about 8:30. So right when the park opens, or between 8 and 8:30, right when the park opens. So you have a 7:30 early entry. Flights of Passage goes until about 8. You're going over to Navi River Journey. Maybe you're out by 8:30. And now they're going back to do their first lightning lane, which is Kilimanjaro Safari. So that, let's give them actually even a little bit later, just to be conservative. Let's say that they are returning to Kilimanjaro, or they're scanning into Kilimanjaro Safari at, let's say, 8:45. So once, and let's say they don't make their next Lightning Lane selection, Disney Genie Plus Lightning Lane selection until after they get off. So maybe it's even past 9 o'clock. So if you were going to do Disney, the meet and greet with Mickey and friends, at that time, we're going to go out to this 9 o'clock time period. Your return time for the meet and greet is still going to be right around 10 o'clock. So it's not a big jump. It's a little bit out there. You probably don't have time to go back to Rafiki's Planet Watch. No, you could actually, and then do this Lightning Lane on the very end of that hour, right? We all know that Lightning Lanes have an hour window. You could do it at the end of that hour and still get out to Rafiki's Planet Watch. But I think that you can do that as a second Lightning Lane if you need it. Now, when we go over to Expedition Everest, I think, again, this is also a solid second Lightning Lane and also makes a lot of sense. Because again, at that 9-something period, you're going to get a return time that's probably somewhere, I would say, well, let's look at the the average. So right around here, you're still at about that 10 o'clock time period. That must not, I've got to check my averages on that one. When we're talking about this, that doesn't look right. So do not quote that one. The average, it must be wrong because I think this average is more like 12 o'clock or 12:30. If you're doing it at this 9 o'clock. Still a great second Lightning Lane because you're still going around that park in that direction, right? You're over in Africa. You've done the safari, and let's actually pop it in. Let's put in Festival of the Lion King, which I just had to change back from Celebration of the Festival of the Lion King to Festival. Did I just miss it? Festival of the Lion King. There it is. And we're going to pop that in there. I'm also going to pop in the Gorilla Exploration Trail because I think there's a lot of people that miss that when they're back there. So you can also, if you wanted to, you could also actually take this and put it before Kilimanjaro Safari, just in case Kilimanjaro Safari is a little bit later. I always put in my instructions, you won't see it here, but in my instructions, when I'm sending to clients, I let them know that I've padded before and after their Lightning Lane because you have to be flexible with Lightning Lanes, but I've put other things around those attractions that are in the same area. So if their Lightning Lane is called up before they get to Gorilla Falls, go ahead and go to Kilimanjaro Safari and come back to Gorilla Falls afterwards. Or if they go to Gorilla Falls and it's not time for their Kilimanjaro Safari Lightning Lane, then go to the 10 o'clock Festival of the Lion King. That's not going to happen in this case, but that they could do that. Yeah, so let's keep going. So I have Festival of the Lion King there. The other things that I would want to put in is the Maharaja Trek. Sorry, there we go. There we go. And I'll pull that in. And then I will also pull in Cali just in case it's warm enough and they want to go. Odds are at this time of year, it's still going to be maybe it could be still nice at this time of year. And especially around 12-ish, it will be warmer than it will in the morning. If you wanted to put the gibbons in there too, I love the gibbons. So sometimes I will put the animals in there. And then also, I don't know if I have quick service. Let's see if I have quick service recommendations for Animal Kingdom. There we go. And I want to pop those in there too, maybe around that time. I could also put those further up if I think that maybe I have an earlier, or they would be good with an earlier lunch. And then we have Expedition Everest. Now, one of the other things that I will say about when I do lightning lanes is typically I will write in here, after you've scanned in, or once you are off this attraction, you can make your next lightning lane. And I recommend that you go, or you select, and I will put the next thing. So after Expedition Everest, it would be, Dinosaur. So I would type all that out, put that in there just for the sake of moving quickly through this. I will spare you, but like Kilimanjaro Safari, I would have put a note saying your next lightning lane recommendation is going to be Expedition Everest. Of course, we've also got to add Finding Nemo. And then we're going to go back and we're going to look at some of the other data. So Expedition Everest, like I said, when we look at it as a second lightning lane, maybe you're grabbing it somewhere here, you're going to be before 2 o'clock. So that's helpful to know as they are making their way over to that area. Kilimanjaro Safari, that almost looks more like Kilimanjaro Safari. Let's see here. No, no, it's not the same. Anyways, Kilimanjaro Safari, 7 a.m. We talked about this. You're going to get a almost park open return time. If you did not want to do Kilimanjaro Safari as your first one, or if you have people staying off site, or maybe not even off site, if you have people who are not going to be there at the beginning of the day, or maybe you have park hoppers, this is a fantastic attraction. I know that everybody's like, oh, you don't do it in the afternoon because the animals are not as active. That may be true, but if this is the only time that you can go there, or you're park hopping, just know that Kilimanjaro Safari is a great one to be able to lightning lane almost at this time. Your distribution time and your return time are almost the same in the afternoon. So that's really, really helpful for those park hoppers. And yep, you'll see the same. And then you have Dinosaur. And this is really interesting that it's almost the opposite, right? It's the return time is almost the same time as the current time at the very beginning of the day. And then it spreads out just a little bit. Again, this the 11th is really interesting. I do think that it was a day that we started seeing some more crowds. And I have a feeling that if we would have looked at the 12th, 13th, 14th, it may have been a little bit more up here. This definitely looks like an anomaly. I do not base my recommendations on things like this. This could have been a ride closure. It could have been a glitch in their system. But I go with what is typical. But even when you look at this, if we were to look at 2 p.m., your return time is either 2, or if we go up, maybe it's 4:30. So that's still a 2.5 hour spread, which I still think is some sort of expectations. And there is it's not all over the place, right? It's not at 2 p.m. or at 10 a.m. that it's at 10 or 6 and you don't know. It's still within a general easy time to find other things around the area, to do shows like Finding Nemo, go play in the Boneyard, go to Tree of Life, all of those sort of things. Go play the Midway games, not Midway. What do they call it? Oh, somebody fact check me and tell me what it's called. You can see most of the time, average of Dinosaur is pretty much that your distribution time and your return time are very, very close. And this makes Dinosaur a really great one to do as a 3rd or 4th lightning lane, depending on what you are doing that day. So we are going to go look at what you see here over in Practically Magic. So let's continue. We did Finding Nemo. Now we're going to add Dinosaur. And you'll see actually that I have a note. the other thing about Practically Magic, if you have a note that you constantly put in your itineraries, like this is a dark and scary ride, you can update that to your content library. And when you save that, that note will be now with that attraction every time you bring it in. So if there's things that you are constantly putting in your itineraries, it's an easy way to have that saved there. So Dinoland, Boneyard, if you have folks who have little kids and maybe they're riding Expedition Everest, I love sending them with the little ones to the Boneyard while one person goes and rides Expedition Everest. I also do this without a lightning lane, right? You can use that single rider line. One parent can go to the Boneyard with the kids, one can go through the single rider line, and then you can go and switch. And when my kids were little, it's like they would be in the Boneyard all day long if they could. So we're also not going to forget Triceratops Spin, and you can do that, and Tree of Life, right? So I do Tree of Life at the end of the day. Now, if they were going to go do Avatar Flight of Passage again with that individual lightning lane, you could add that to the end if you knew that they were going to want to ride it twice and that was going to be part of their itinerary. This is an example of maybe what you would send. If you had created a day that you loved and you thought was a great day to hand over to, or to save, to use to, after client after client after client, all you need to do, what I was going to say is, if you have a day that would work for many of your clients, you're going to want to save that day. There we go. And you add that day to the content library. Now, what I recommend when you are saving a day, this title does not show to the client. This is only an internal title. This is the only entry or the only saved data that does not have a title that is going to be client facing. But so when you save the day, what I recommend is to put the initials of your agency in there, and then you can name it Disney's Animal Kingdom or DAK. I would also put a date, or maybe do March 2024, so you know what season it's good for, and then save it. Now you could go into another day, or you can go into another trip. Let's go make a new trip. We'll just put new trip and select dates. Let's go a little bit out and we will select those dates. And we'll go in and let's say this is our Disney's Animal Kingdom Day. And we'll save it. And then I can go, and I probably have multiples of these because I've showed this. There we go. And I just can pull it in. And voila, everything that I had just created is now in this day. Now, there's red and exclamation points, and it's because when I saved that day, it saved it to the date that I was in, and you need to go back and you need to reconfirm that date and time. So right, Disney's Animal Kingdom, oops, that early entry is not always at 7:30. So you have to go check and make sure that that early entry time is the right time and date. Also, that helps if you do create an itinerary and you had a dining reservation for Tusker House. That way it would also turn up red and you would be like, ooh, I don't have that for this client. So let's pull that out. So easy peasy. And that's how I would make that. Now, when I go to open my client's URL, you can see we have at 6:45, make your first lightning lane, Disney's Animal Kingdom, and then Disney's Animal Kingdom early entry. And then you can go down and you can see all of their things. The other cool thing that just got put in there is if I click on any of these, what's going to happen is it's going to take them to the information page from that supplier. So whether it's Universal Orlando or Disney, it will show up there. So if you have questions about theme park strategy, whether it is Disney's Animal Kingdom or any of the other parks, please let me know. I really appreciate you taking the time and spending the time to chat about what this data tells us and what we can set for expectations for our clients. Again, my name is Jolene Stevens. I'm the founder of Practically Magic. I appreciate you being here with us, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.